What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be going over how to send your cards in for grading, and in the first half of the video we're going to be discussing what should you do to your cards before you send them in for grading. Today we are just going to be discussing PSA. If you guys would like another short video on just BGS, I would love to do that. Just let me know down in the comments below. But if you want to skip through just to the part where you learn where to go to and what steps to follow, go ahead and skip through this video until you find it. It should be about halfway through, and I'm just going to focus there on what steps to follow, and I'm going to be screen recording so you guys can follow along with me. Feel free to pause the video as you do it yourself. That's what I'd recommend if anyone's super new. But for everyone who is absolutely new to grading cards, go ahead and watch this entire video. I'm going to be showing you what to do to your cards and using this Jordan Poole Holo from Optic as an example. So let's get right into the video. Now, what you're going to need if you're sending your cards in for grading is first a card. You probably are going to need a microfiber. This is just a regular one that came with some sunglasses, and I think you can pick these up for like a couple of dollars at any glasses store, any store that sells glasses. I went to CVS or Walgreens. And then what I like to use is one of these magnifying glasses that they use for gems. Mine has a little light on it. And I just use the big hole right here, and I go through the top of it and look for any blemishes on the surface. So I'll do that with you right here. You're going to first want to take your card out of the top loader and outside of the penny sleeve. But be careful, do not take it fully out. You do not want to touch the card. Now, what you're first going to want to do is go over with this magnifying glass every corner and every part of the card, and you're going to want to zoom out just so you can see the corners here. I think you guys can see that, and I want to make sure the corners and edges are sharp. You could also use this for print lines. It's hard to manage while I'm recording from a far distance, but go ahead and try and copy me as best as you can. I like to go through the card very carefully, and I like to look for any scratches on the surface. You guys, I think, can get the point. But if I look at this card and find out, you know what, the corners look pretty sharp, which you can tell from an eye distance. You don't need a magnifying glass, but I think it's easier and it helps your results. You're going to want to move on to cleaning the surface of the card. Now, some people might tell you other information, such as only clean when you see a fingerprint, but I've had better results of just cleaning the entire card, and I'll clean it like so. And then I'll get the back as well, just very light. You don't want to push very hard on the card because that can damage it. And then you grab the side here and just lower it and keep doing that. And you clean the front and back. And eventually, once you get down to here and you have to put down the penny sleeve, hold it by the edges, clean it very softly. Make sure not to push hard on the edges, and get the back as well as the front. And then what I like to do is I like to stick it back inside of the penny sleeve very carefully up until where my fingers touched it, and then go ahead and clean those sides on both sides very softly, and then push it back in. Once you are finished, you can put it into another sleeve, and that's what I'd recommend. I don't have one on me here, but this isn't a card that I'd send in for grading, and I'll get onto that right now. The 4 categories that you're graded on are the corners of the card, the edges of the card, top and bottom, or horizontal and vertical, as well as the surface of the card and the centering of the card. Now, we cleaned the surface with a microfiber and checked with our magnifying glass to make sure there were no scratches. We also checked the edges and corners with our magnifying glass. So the next step is to look at the centering. With PSA, 60-40 centering is acceptable, and that means that one of these sides has to be around, not 50-50, but 60-40 is the maximum. And you can buy a grading centering tool. I think they're on Amazon. I got mine for, I think, like $4 or something. And so you'll line it up next to it, and it gives you all the prompts to follow, and it'll show you the exact numbering of your card. But just based off of an eye test, I can see that this side here, this silvery gray side here on the left, is much thicker than the side on the right. The back isn't really as important, but this side is bigger than this side. And then you have to check as well the top of the card's centering versus the bottom, and I can see the top is just a little bit bigger than the bottom. So that tells me that this card is off-centered, and I don't know if this is a card that I'd want to send in, because right away I'm looking at a 9 centering at best on this card, which could lower me to a potential PSA 9. Now, after you've done that, you can, and I recommend after you've cleaned everything and checked the centering and everything, put it back into a brand new penny sleeve because you don't want any dirt on it. And what I like to do is I like to put it into a fresh top loader as well. And then I don't have any on me to show you guys, but a lot of people recommend putting them in card savers. I actually don't like that because I feel like I have trouble jamming it in there and I don't want to damage the card. So if you go to your local card shop, you can get something called a team bag that you would put over this card, and you place the card inside of this team bag. It's a little plastic sleeve, and you close the top, and that way you can send it in a top loader and your card is not going to get damaged being put in or out of the card saver, which is why I like this a little bit better. Feel free, I mean, like I said, to watch some of those segments that I covered just a little bit ago. Again, make sure to pause the video if you're doing this at home at the same time. And leave me any comments or questions down below. If you have anything that you want me to go over, I'd be glad to help you guys out. And make sure to stay tuned for the next part of the video, which is going to be sending to PSA and filling out forms on their website. I'll see you guys there. Welcome back, guys. We are going to be starting on the PSA website, and we are going to be looking how you are going to send your stuff in. So if you skipped the part of the video where I went over how to clean your cards and package them, this is where you need to be. So first off, I'm just going to look up PSA grading. If you wanted to send into BGS, you could look up BGS grading. But currently, we're going to look up PSA grading. We're going to search. You can just click on their homepage, or you could go to trading card grading. I would click on trading card grading. I would click submit. And you don't need to really read all this. It just goes through different useless information. Do not click this button. It will not take you anywhere. It's a mistake I've made. Just X out of this prompt when it comes up because all of these grading specials are currently unavailable. So you're going to be spending $300 minimum per card. So if you just start your order, it will say this. And let's just see if I'll delete these ones because I don't really need them. And I'll just go through starting a totally new one with you guys. So we're going to be sending in regular or small size cards. These are cards that you're going to be getting out of a regular pack, even autographs, or like you see memorabilia cards. They're a little thicker, but it's okay for PSA. If you were to send in other cards, I really don't even know what those would be, but for anyone sending in modern stuff, just leave it as what it's already selected as. Then you're going to be sending for grading. If you were sending for review, crossover, reholding, click that. Basically, review is, and I'm sure it will say, but if you really have questions, you can just read about it. Review is when you already have a PSA graded slab and you want to resubmit it because you think it might deserve a better grade. One thing I will tell you guys though is PSA doesn't put cards in a cover or a sleeve like BGS does, so the grade could go down because it can shake. They don't do it perfectly, so it could shake and it could damage the edges and corners. So I would be very careful doing that, but it's up to you guys. That way they'll crack it out for you. Crossover is where you send in a BGS graded slab over to PSA, and reholder is just getting a new holder for one you already have. If you are not sending in a card for autograph, just click no autograph authentication. If you are, you can read these 4 services. Most people do this dual service here, or they do this dual service card only grade. So they do the card only grade or the card and autograph because you really don't need the card graded as authentic. And then you're going to click next. Just follow the prompts. It's really easy, I think, on their website. The cheapest service level is Super Express, and that's going to be $300. I've heard it's taking anywhere from 2 to 5 weeks. I've heard some people have been closer to 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Some have had their orders take closer to 2 months. So it's really just how quickly PSA is moving. They've kind of lost that sense of urgency, even though they're dealing with less orders. But if you do choose to send up through walkthrough or premium, any of those services, it will go a lot quicker. I think it's a 1-day service, at least for these. Premiums, I'm not 100% sure on walkthrough, but I think that's even quicker because you're going to be paying more money anyways. And then you're going to continue the prompts. Now, let's say I wanted to send in, let's just say some base cards I have up. Let's just say I wanted to send in some Bowman. So Bowman Chrome 2016, let's say Fernando Tatis Jr. You know, let's just say I got lucky and I have a just a base card, or let's say I have a refractor sitting around. No, we'll say a Chrome. So you want to make sure you choose the correct one. Make sure you look on the back of the card. Most cards are numbered in the top right. For Fernando Tatis, this BCP 17 means Bowman Chrome Prospects, and the card number is 17. So I'll click on that one. A PSA 9, I think, is going for around 300. So let's say I'm expecting to get a PSA 10. If the value's 650, go ahead and put in 650. It really shouldn't change your insurance. It's just, I don't even understand why they say total declared value. But let's just say let's say I'm sending in 2 cards and expecting 1 9 and 1 10. And the 9s go for 250 and 10s go for 650. You do some quick math, $900. Click save. But I really don't even do that. I would just send in one at a if I'm expecting to get a 10, do Bowman Chrome Prospects and just type in 2016 Fernando Tatis Jr. It doesn't really matter how you type it in. This is not the right one. You got to make sure you choose the right one, because if you do not, it will be graded wrong, and even though they have those quality checks or whatever, they do mess up a lot. Let's say the declared value is 300. I click save. Okay, done with that. Very easy. You just follow the prompts. Now, I would click next if that's the only card I'm sending in. Otherwise, I just continue to click there until I'm finished. You're going to click next. Now, I'm going to blur out my address, but your address should be where it says return shipping address. Make sure that is correct. Next, it'll say your total right around in this area by submission summary. And for me, I'm paying $14 for insured shipping. I think that's roughly the same. It doesn't matter. I'm not 100% sure, though. And then that means my total is going to be $314. Other than that, you're just going to keep insured shipping and then enter your credit card information down at the bottom. You're going to click next. You're going to click go through the confirmation, and you need to check every single one of your cards. If it is wrong, it will only cost you money. It's going to cost you the amount that you sent it in for grading for, and then you're going to have to get a reholder on it if you would like to sell it for whatever grade it is. So it's going to cost you most likely $150 just down the drain because you chose not to spend 5 minutes. I've done it before, and I was so upset with myself. I sent it in RJ Barrett Silver, and I put it in as the Prism draft and basically just threw away all my money for grading. And then you're going to submit your order. So if you guys have any more questions, make sure to leave them down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in